With me I have Israeli Ambassador Ilan Baruch, who recently resigned from the government on grounds of principle. He said he could no longer serve in a government whose policies he did not agree with. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us here in RT. You resigned after more than 30 years of service. What was the final straw?
When Foreign Minister Diplomat arrived to greet the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the banner of all banners for him was, whoever desires peace needs to prepare for war. And I thought that was very telling of the psyche that exists behind his political way. And I thought I could not serve a minister with this kind of statement.
Is it a statement supported by the majority of Israelis?
I think we Israelis, yes, we grew up on the view that we need to be on alert. It's not true anymore. Most Israelis live a life that is quite banal, and you can cut it out of the environment here and plant it in the US or in Europe, Western Europe, and you will find the Israelis quite easily integrating into society, into the requirements in place and so on. So it's not anymore the regimented society of my childhood, on alert all time, at any given point in time. But it is true that Israelis are not naive, and they believe that we can survive here in the Middle East only if we are ready to fight for it.
When you resigned, you sent a message to all the staff of the Foreign Ministry explaining your resignation. What was their reaction? And what is the general mood like among Israeli public servants concerning the policies that they have to defend?
I have no illusions. Some of us were frustrated by my letter because it is outside of the code of conduct that you just drop out because you don't like the message. The messenger has no view over the message. That is the code of conduct. And it's quite legitimate to think in that way.
How many messengers agree with the message and how many don't in the Foreign Ministry?
In my view, the large majority don't care. They are professionals, and whatever message comes for them to deliver, they will do. There is a solid minority in our ministry that is politically motivated to promote Israel in its rather hawkish position as this government is pursuing. I think we do also have the lefties, leftovers from the past, but I think they are a minority.
Your last overseas posting was as ambassador to South Africa. What did your experience in South Africa teach you as far as the situation in Israel is concerned?
I think that Israel is in a danger zone to slide by default into manifestations of apartheid if we don't take care. And I'm afraid we don't take care.
There's growing discontent in the United States as far as Israeli policies on Iran and Palestine go. How deep is the rift between the United States and Israel, or is it merely a lover's quarrel?
I'm surprised to realize how deep the American care for Israel is when it comes to the conversation, the political conversation in the US. I also can see how the aftermath of the war in Iraq and in Afghanistan and the American fatigue of the Middle East could work badly for the image Israel presents in the US and the political discourse in the US in the context of American interests. God forbid that the US will be more reluctant to reach out for Israel, because our predicament now is, as a result of a policy pursued by this current government in a way that I think is tragically wrong, that we lean to the American Congress a single source of strength in our diplomatic fabric, and that is very dangerous.
Well, following on from what you're saying, Israel has become increasingly isolated on the international stage. What should this country's first steps be to bring it out of this self-isolation?
In my view, this government very explicitly made a statement to the effect that Israel stepped out intentionally of the paradigm of land for peace, end of occupation, as a key to a settlement in the Middle East, and into a new paradigm that stipulates the ownership of Israel, exclusive ownership of Israel over the entirety of the land of Israel, which comprises, in the eyes of Palestinians, Palestine. That paradigm is a dead end. I think it is immoral. Morally and practically, it's not sustainable. And that is the reason why I left government. I thought I could not serve that kind of message.
Ban Ki-moon, the United Nations chief, has called on Israel to end its occupation of Palestine, warning that it will lead to another Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But is the Israeli government willing to listen? Israel
does on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip whatever it likes, and things are changing fast on the ground in favor of entrenching Israeli presence in Palestinian areas. I don't think really Jerusalem pays too much attention to what the Secretary General of the UN is saying. Who can Israel rely on in the region, considering that in the aftermath of the Arab Spring, the Middle East has become more radicalized? I don't think Israel is looking for allies. I think Israel is looking for partners of convenience. One is Jordan, whose survivability in the form we know it, the Hashemite kingdom. So we entertain a lot of common interests. Egypt is consumed by its own revolution, and as long as it doesn't pose a threat to us, I think Israel is taking a very careful distance. And Turkey, a catastrophic foreign policy towards one of the emerging powers in the Mediterranean. As far as Syria goes, what is the best outcome for Israel? And why does the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu want a regime change in Syria if that would mean, or if that could mean, another Islamist state on the border? I don't think Israel can have an impact on the outcome of any regime change that is underway anyway. So to ignore the fact that there is a regime change in the making in Syria would be unacceptable, but at the same time we need to be very careful not to expedite it. Is there any way that Israel could support an Arabic military invasion of Syria that Qatar has called for? And what would such an invasion mean for Israel and for the region? I can hardly see the Arab world regimenting around one force that is prepared to walk into Syria physically and intervene there. I don't see it happening. How much of a threat is Iran to regional security? It is very obvious that Iran is pursuing a position as a regional power to serve interests that go beyond the immediate borders of Iran. It is primarily defensive. Primarily, it responds to the desire of Iran to protect itself. That is one level. The other is the domestic political discourse in Israel. The right wing always profited from a nervous public mood on defense issues. And I think a lot of what is said about Iran actually serves political ends, and I'm very angry about that. I think it should be stopped at once.
Do you think Iran could really attack Israel?
I don't think so.
Could Israel attack Iran?
I don't know, but common sense says that Israel is critically dependent on international legitimacy. A responsive strike on Iran will be legitimate. A preemptive strike will not. And I think Israel should avoid at any cost a preemptive strike on Iran.
Ambassador Ilan Baruch, thank you very much for joining us here on RT.